But it's sad to hear some of the stories of people who haven't gone through challenges to help them define who they are, and then all of a sudden come into incredible wealth. And then what happens to them after that?
Welcome. I am the host of this amazing podcast called Leaders in Technology. And if people follow this channel, you guys know that I made this channel when I realized that there was a lot of talk about technology in the market, but not really with leadership. And it's leadership that takes people together and they work towards a common goal, and they create the technology that we enjoy today. This episode is the second episode when I interview John Rathje. John, welcome to the show again.
David, thank you. I'm glad to be here with you.
Fantastic. Just to remind our audience, John, where do you live? Where do you work? And what's your most important thing in life? Let's
very good. Well, we go from very easy facts to very meaningful things very quickly, don't we? So I'm currently the vice president of IT and CIO at Kent State University, which is in Northeast Ohio, very close to both Akron and Cleveland. My wife and I have been in this area for about 5 years, and we've certainly enjoyed our time here. In terms of what's important to me, or what's the ballast that keeps me who I am, it really is my faith and trust in my Lord and Savior. That's the number one thing for me. And then, of course, from there, we can talk about family and working with others and making sure that life is not about what we do. Life is about who we connect with and what we share in our time here.
Beautiful, John. Well said. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you again, because towards the end of our last conversation, we discovered that we share the same faith. And there is a movement going on around in leadership called servant leadership. And if you research what that is, I was actually doing it implied, like I was doing that in my life without knowing that I was doing it, when I decided to change myself, and when I realized that I wasn't in control of my life, and when I realized that I was put in a position of leadership to serve others, not for others to serve me, which is the opposite that the world tells you, right?
Yeah, I am not a formally trained person when it comes to leadership styles. I can tell you how I approach leadership, and I think what many will find is that it aligns incredibly well with dozens and dozens of authors. But I think what you mentioned is really the most important thing, and that is how do you take the talents that you've been blessed with and use those to benefit others? And that's really, I think of the simple word joy. It's Jesus, others, and yourself. And if you can keep that order and understand why you do what you do, or for whom you do what you do, and that even amidst failures, we're giving our best. We're taking what we have, we're including people to give our best. David, I think those are some really foundational things that then you can build on, right? Relationships matter in the way we lead. It isn't so much that I can tell somebody what they need to do. It's understanding and learning about people, understanding where their motivations are, and how can I help them be the best them? How can I potentially even adjust the things I'm doing to take advantage of the skills, the talents, the attributes that people bring into our sphere of influence, to really take an initiative or to take a series of goals and strategies and make them the best they can be. We weren't made to be alone. We were made to be with people, and recognizing that there are different ways in which we can achieve outcomes, and really thinking about people as the number one objective of what we do, how we approach things, can really make a difference. And it makes a difference not only in your own life, right? we don't do it for ourselves. We do it for the glory of others. But I've seen other people's lives change and transform as a result of really helping people understand that they do belong, and they can be an important part of a journey. So
it's beautiful, John. To attain this wisdom is not easy. I tell you because I think I shared last time. When I was trapped into the lie of abundant material possession and going after the penny, I fell off the servant leadership position, which like you, I didn't have a lot of leadership training. But when I fell off the wagon and I realized that my life was a misery, and the misery was created by my own doing, then I actually went and took a leadership course, and I did a 1-year postgraduate degree on leadership, specifically for technology people. Like, I found something for technology geeks like me, where we can actually learn how to lead other people with this servitude mentality. Now, for you, when was that moment in your life when you realized, I'm here to serve others, not for them to serve me?
David, I really appreciate the question. And I'm not sure there was a particular moment necessarily. I think I'm on a journey just like everybody else. I continue to mature in the way I approach life and how I serve. I think, though, maybe let me start with this. Maybe there's a set of principles that I began to really identify as my principles and how I wanted to maintain integrity. I think about leadership in 3 different categories. I think about leading yourself, I think about leading teams, and I think about leading organizations. And in order to lead the last 2, you have to have integrity. And the world around us often is crippled by its own ego. It's crippled by the way in which a story changes depending on who's in the room or what goes on. So one of the principles that I do have that really helped me think about whether or not it was chasing financial gain or chasing outcomes that help people achieve better outcomes was life decisions lead. And what I mean by that is it's family over fortune, it's community over career, and thinking about the contributions that we offer to support. And there, I was an entrepreneur early in my career and ended up selling 2 of my companies because there was a life decision to be made to be more engaged with my family versus being gone. And I don't know that there was an epiphany moment, David, other than sometimes you get a curveball that's thrown at you. And when that curveball comes, you have some decisions to make. And I think it's good to go through trial. It's good to go through challenges. And those things can really help lay a strong foundation for you to build and continue to build and be who you are, the best you.
It's incredible, but we were just talking about that with my wife just a few hours ago. We run our company on a strategy called EOS. It's Enterprise Operating System, and basically it's a set of rules and regulations in which you run your business so you can grow it in a more steady, sustainable way. I started doing this in the pandemic because we had a lot of time in our hands, so we started to implement the system that I wanted to implement a long time ago. And as a result, it's crazy because now I need double the income in my business to make the same profits. So if I don't have double the income, I'm actually at loss. And I was telling my executive team, this is crazy. However, when my wife approached me, she's part of the board of directors, she said, just remember, David, that before you were doing the majority of those tasks, and that's why you were highly profitable. But doing that took you away from your kids, from your wife, took you away from the things that matter. It actually pulled you away from your faith. So there is a moment in time where you really need to decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to follow the extra income, or are you going to follow a life of abundance and peace with your family? right?
Those are challenging decisions, especially when you look at the world around us, which really puts on a pedestal those who are powerful. It puts on a pedestal those who are the quote unquote rich and the famous. And it's okay if you happen to have those material blessings. I see zero issue with it. It's a function of who you are. Do you change? Integrity takes a lifetime to build, and it only takes a moment to lose it. And I can't tell you that I'm perfect by any means. I'm not. But what I want to be able to do is, at the end of the day, when it's time to relax and say thank you for the day, to also say that I give my best, and what can I do tomorrow to give honor and glory to my Lord, who's given me the ability to do the things I'm doing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, well, we're all challenged by the same thing, aren't we, David? I mean, you see somebody who has a new house and you go, wow, that's a nice house. Or a new car, and you go, wow, that's a nice car. And we have nice things. Zero complaints about anything. But the point is that where my heart is? Is that what my motivation is? And I hope the rest of my life I can humbly say those aren't my motivations.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are nice byproducts that may come along, but they're not the reason I do what I do.
And it's the same in business, especially in a leadership position, right? I remember when I was a junior supervisor, I wanted to have my boss's job, and when I got that, I wanted to have his boss's job, and it never ended. And it's the same, right? It's like, why do you want to keep growing in your corporate career? Is it because of the pride that comes with it and the perks that come with it? Or is it really because you know that you have what it takes to add more value to your organization in a higher position? And isn't it that the higher you go, the more responsibility you get? And if you're not ready to do that, you're actually going to wreck not only your life, but the life of the people around you.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a really sad statement, but first of all, I don't buy the lotto tickets or the lottery tickets. Not saying that that's wrong either. I just don't do it. It's not me.
Right.
But it's sad to hear some of the stories of people who haven't gone through challenges to help them define who they are, and then all of a sudden come into incredible wealth. And then what happens to them after that, right? I think it's good for us to recognize that there are some people who are very good with money and it doesn't affect them. And there are some who just simply want more and they'll at any cost go after it. And you look around and you go, is that really what we're trying to do? And some are. I'm not. I'm really trying to help others be the best they can be. Trying to help organizations achieve the outcomes and exceed the outcomes that they intend. Trying to help my family grow and be good citizens and take their faith seriously as well, and understand that when we make mistakes, we can turn and have peace. So these are all things, David, that I tell you, I wish others could experience if they don't, right? It's something that gives me a balance in life that allows me to enjoy so many different things without any one thing owning me. And that's peaceful. There's a lot of joy in that.
You're right. And another thing that I came to learn and realize, again, following Jesus Christ as our model of leadership, right? If you go into the New Testament and start reading, you realize that he washed his disciples' feet, right? He cooked for them. And here comes God made human to save the entire human race. And when he was here, he chose the humble leadership path, being the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And I remember this passage where Peter said, no, you cannot wash my feet. I'm not worthy. And he says, if you don't let yourself me wash your feet, you will not join me in my kingdom. So and then he said, oh, then wash my whole body. I'm like, no, just your feet.
Yeah,
right?
but isn't it interesting, David, how it always reflects back on the action, the thing I have to do, the thing I have to do, the thing I have to do. But our Lord came down to do all that for us and took that burden away from us. And he just says, trust me and love me. And I think sometimes we make it too hard, right? We just make it too hard. But you're absolutely right. The King immortal, invisible, only God wise, took on human flesh, and you talk about humility. Didn't consider being God something that he needed to grasp, but rather took on the nature of a serpent so that you and I could enjoy that eternal life. That blows my mind, actually. It's pretty fantastic.
And if you do a little more like him, like we can never become like him, but if we follow his footsteps in our leadership positions, in our organizations, there is nothing but blessings that comes that way. And actually, forget the blessings. When there's big trouble coming in, when you have this attitude of gratitude, and you know that you're there to help others, you're gonna have peace throughout the trouble. And for me, that's the most important part, because it's easy to be happy when everything is going well, and you finish your projects on time, and you know everybody's happy, and your CEO is happy, and it's like, yeah, this is awesome. What happens when everything starts going wrong and things go wrong, right? That's the challenge. How can you keep your peace and the peace of your employees while facing very challenging situations?
I think one of the things that really helps with the balance and ballast that we have is to recognize that there is tomorrow, right? What's past is past, and what you're going through may be difficult, but you're never alone. So as a leader, I draw strength on knowing that, and that I don't believe anything just happens. I do believe that people are moved in positions to be in positions, and that through that you'll grow, and through that you'll be cared for. And I trust that the Lord is with me. So that's number one. Number two is I also trust that not only is he with me, he has given us wisdom, whether it's our own wisdom or looking around to find the wisdom to help us find pathways or to find our way through the challenges. But through it all, one of the things that, since you mentioned the New Testament, we talk a lot about love. And I shared with you earlier that I developed principles, or I actually write my principles down and my values down. And I check myself quarterly to say, am I living up to what I said I would be as a leader? And one of those values that is important to me is love. And that is to love all people, all, with the same love that Jesus had for the entire world, with no judgment. No, I'm not seeking to destroy. I'm seeking to understand. I'm willing to share the truth, even if the truth is not popular. And love sometimes hurts, but love always heals. And so when you're going through challenging situations, and you can put anyone in front of me, the hardest ones usually are the ones where we're working with people who don't see their own pathway forward. And you want to work with them to help them understand how best to find their purpose. But regardless of what the circumstance is, remain true to the values and the principles that make you who you are and whose you are. And I trust things will work out. I just trust that they will work out. David, do you find the same thing?
Yeah. And I do, and then I forget. And when I'm in the middle of trouble, when the storm is just pouring rain upon me, I forget. And then I get stressed out. And the Lord always uses my wife to calm me down. It's crazy because like she knows my heart. When I come from work and I'm troubled, she's like, okay, what's going on? And I explain to her, and she's like, she reminds me all the times that the Lord has delivered me from horrible situations.
Oh,
But
yeah.
in my flesh, I forget. And then I allow myself to be troubled, right?
Yeah, we do, right? We all do. We all do. And it's a beautiful thing that you've been blessed with a mate who will help you recognize your own shortcomings, which we all need in our life because we have those. And yeah, good for you. I mean, good for your family. We need
Yeah.
those reminders, don't we?
Yeah, and you know, if you think about it, there is, you know, I remember with Apostle Paul said, to me, life is in Christ and to die is gain. So that if we are people of faith and we are truly believe what our faith says, that to die is gain, because we know after we live this human life that if we're lucky, we are here for 80 years, we're going to be in the presence of the Lord forever, in his glory, without any temptations, without anything that goes wrong in this broken world. I mean, why would we worry? So that's what my heart tells my brain, but my brain always comes back with 1,000 questions. Why not? And why I should get worried? And then I realized I have a human body that is modeled after a mammal. And we have a little thing called the amygdala inside our brain that is very old, and its sole purpose is to get your prevents us from getting into trouble or getting killed. Its only purpose is to keep the human body alive. And that little amygdala creates all the havoc in our lives because it's always telling us, oh, you're going to lose your job. Oh, the recession is coming. Oh, my God, this project is going to be overrunning budget. And 1,000 things. And you're like, you start getting like, oh, what do I do? Because it looks at problems the way we used to look at a lion when we're living in the wilderness. But there's no more lions. I mean, not in a civilized society, right? And so this is the one thing that I always have to remind myself that I am a spirit that has a soul that lives in a body. And my spirit has the power to control my soul, and my soul has the power to control my body. That amygdala, for example. That part of my brain that wants to save me from trouble that doesn't exist. Right?
So true. We have many reminders about turning to the Lord, and many reminders about, why did you doubt? Which just goes to show this side of glory, we're going to make mistakes and mess up, but we have a loving Lord who has promised that when we turn to him, he receives us. And that is, I think that's something too, when, maybe something in your professional career or maybe personal life goes sideways. We have a God who sees and knows all and has promised to be with us and care for us. So kind of going back, David, to all the things about leadership, do I care about leading? Absolutely. Do I want to give my best? Absolutely. Do I care about the people who've been entrusted to me? Absolutely. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about what could go wrong. I'm thinking about how do we do it right. And if we fail, let's figure out how to fail fast. Maybe sometimes we're going to have to ask for forgiveness along the way. We do that. And then we keep moving. We can get paralyzed because there are evil forces trying to take that joy away from us in many circumstances. But I'm thankful that there are people like you, David, and many of my close friends also who share this common bond that we have. And, we can help each other continue to grow and continue to achieve the things that we've been placed here to do. to these works, if I could put it this way. And I realize these are works of spiritual works, but these good things that have been put in front of us were before time began. They were designed for us to do. So let's do them, and let's do them all and give God the glory. There's nothing wrong with that. That's I get to see the benefit of it, and I get to enjoy the benefit of that, and I get to grow with others along the way. It's a pretty great thing.
And you know, John, when you become an important leader like you are, when you have an entire department under you, I'm going to give you an analogy, okay? When I was young, I fell in love with scuba diving. And when I went through my scuba diving instructions, the instructor told me, when you navigate in the water, it's completely backwards than when you walk on Earth, because when you walk on Earth, you're vertical. In the water, you're horizontal, so your entire environment changes. And he says, the way to navigate underwater is to move your head where you want the body to follow. So if you want to go down, you put your head down. You want to go up, you put your head up, same sideways. And sure enough, when I was underwater, 30 meters under, 90 feet under, I went down, I went up. My head gave the direction to my body, not my arms, not my legs, my head. And it's the same with leadership. The head, the person at the top, sets the mood and the direction for the rest of the people. And I don't know how this works, John. I have people in 9 countries. Okay, my company is completely distributed since I started. I started like that. And my mood sets the mood of the company that my direction sets the direction. Wherever I do, they follow. Unconsciously. And I'm telling you this because if you have managed to come into faith, to wake up and realize that you belong to Jesus and He is the Lord of your life, you're going to have that peace that is not from this world. It's a level of peace and tranquility that surpasses all understanding. And that will make your team blessed, regardless of what they think or they believe about. Because it's what I'm telling you, whatever the sentiment is at the top becomes the sentiment for the whole body. Isn't that incredible?
Well, I think these are the things too, and not everybody is attracted to the same belief that we share. But everybody is attracted to the outcomes and to the life that we have. And these are things too that we keep in mind is it's not just our words, it's our actions, as you've been saying all along here in our short discussion. People see the way you act and they recognize that there's just something different about you, right? And that gives us a chance to have a deeper conversation as well.
Yeah. And you know, how many times have people come to your office frustrated, rattled, and you with your peace can settle them down just by showing them the facts and making them realize maybe that you have gone through this problem before and it was okay, right?
Truth.
And then people go out. In my office, people go out and they're like, oh, I'm so happy, right? Or they have a Zoom meeting with me. I'm like, okay, I'm fine. There is a way out.
It's all good. That's exactly right.
It's all good. John, when was that time when you gave your heart to the Lord? How did that happen?
Well, that happened through baptism for me. Holy Spirit works according to the Word, and that for me is something that wasn't a decision of mine. It was a beautiful gift from God. So I don't have the same recollection that some people may have later in life where the Word hits them and they get an opportunity to be captured by the love of our Lord. So I've been able to live this joy my entire life, David, which is a pretty special thing.
So blessed. Since you got baptized, isn't that incredible? You know, I've been baptized 3 times. You know why? Because I got lost 2 times. I was lost 3 times because before I was baptized, I was lost. So for me, the water baptism it was such a beautiful event in my life. And, I am the true example of the prodigal son, and we don't have time to go into this podcast to go through what happened to me. But what I can tell you for sure, though, is that I tried everything in the world. I tried to be a horrible boss, a horrible leader, thinking that my people were my army and they shall do what I say, or else. And that didn't work. And I tried everything else. I went into the secular world learning about leadership. And don't get me wrong, I learned a lot of things there.
Sure.
But then when I looked what I learned, all those principles were in the Bible. I just couldn't believe it. My problem was that being a Christian, I never took the time to read the Bible. And then, I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, honestly, learning how to become a leader, with multiple events and this and that. And I followed all these people that are, relevant in the leadership world. And then when I started reading my Bible last year, by the way, last year I started, I'm like, oh, somebody said this. Oh, I read that in that book. Oh, I'm like, everything is there. Crazy.
Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun, is there, David?
No. Well, what advice will you give people that are listening to this and maybe they are wondering about faith and how to become a better leader through Christ, and they don't even know what that means? What advice will you give them to start in that path of letting go? Because one of the things that creates our peace is that we actually let go. We actually realize that we're not in control anymore. We realize that control is an illusion. And when you actually let go and we allow the Lord to work his way in our life, he will fight our battles and the outcomes will always be for our own good.
Yeah, no, that question comes forward a lot. Where do you start? And I think maybe oversimplifying this is that the word always leads you to faith, it leads you to grow in faith. And one of the most consumable books, I'll say, that talks about the deep love and the sacrifice is the book of John. It's written in such a way that you get a real clear picture of who Jesus is, why he came. You'll hear the theme of love repeated over and over and over again. And you'll recognize that love is intended for you. When I say you, individually, it's for all the world. Then the connection is faith, right? That's the connection. And will that make you a better business leader? I don't know. I don't know what God has in store for everybody, right? But what I do know is that if we come back to those 3 areas of leadership I mentioned earlier, leading yourself, leading a team, and leading an enterprise. In terms of leading yourself, I mentioned ethics and integrity. When you realize what you're doing is for an infinite God who knows all things, you can't hide. So that's number 1. Number 2, to manage yourself. You had mentioned that you had tried a number of things. I think we've all gone down those paths, right? We've strayed, we've come back, we've wandered, we've hit obstacles and roadblocks. So managing yourself, and I think, again, the book of John and then others, of course, in the Bible will reveal this. And then recognize that it's a process. Like your salvation and faith is done, but there's a process of growing. And growing in faith, that's the sanctified life. And that, I think, is what has helped me grow as a leader, understanding how to love people, how to build relationships with people, and how to serve people. That is part of my journey still, David. There are times I don't want to do that. I'll be very clear. But those moments and those times are fewer and fewer, and recognizing that I'm here to be a part of somebody else's life versus the life to revolve around me is it's a liberating thing, but it can also prick people, right? Because we kind of want for ourselves, but you get so much more, and I don't mean I'm doing it for this reason. You get so much more by giving to others than you can possibly imagine. And so that has been a stalwart for the way I approach leadership. When I pour myself into my team, especially my executive leadership team, and then teach them, or at least indirectly teach them how to do that same thing for others that they then lead, your organization begins to run itself. And that allows you to take the pressure off yourself as well. So David, that was a long way of saying where to start.
That is beautiful.
And like I said, I can't guarantee that reading the book of John will make you a better leader. That's not what I'm going to say at all. But letting those words touch your heart will help you be a better you. There's no question about that, because you recognize whose you are.
And becoming a better you will definitely make you a better leader. And you know that this thing of giving, right? If you look at the free world, the privilege that we have to live in a free country, in a free continent, if you look at the foundation of that, if you look how the economy works in the free world, it's based on that. I give first, and then I get rewarded for supplying somebody else's need. It's the foundation of that. The problem is that, we live in a broken world with people with vices and corruption, and that's why, our democracy is not perfect. But if you look at the principles of democracy, the principles of free economy, is how can I add value to somebody else? How can I make somebody else their life better? And if you fulfill that, immediately you get that value back. And especially if you do it without thinking about getting the value back. Isn't that incredible?
It is, David. And I think those are things that are hard to explain in just a 45-minute conversation. And why I so appreciate that I've had great mentors around me as well, who have guided me and helped me grow in both my faith and also grow as a husband, as a man, as a father, as a grandfather now. So all of those things are blessings, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for you, David. I appreciate that you would spend this sort of time talking about leadership, recognizing the foundation that certainly I see in what helps a leader be great. And it's not because a leader aspires to be self-great, but to be great for others. And thank you for doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, John, for opening up your heart and being bold about what you believe, especially nowadays that everything is so upside down that people are even afraid about what they believe.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback, I'm sorry to cut you off. When I mentioned one of the values that I write down is love, I think too many times we see the Christian population being pigeonholed into not loving people. And I think that's unfortunate that people see it that way. And maybe we as Christians haven't done a good job of exemplifying that. But I will tell you, Jesus didn't come just for a few, he came for everybody. And I think that's something for us to recognize and to really meet people where they are, but maybe we just don't leave them where they are, right?
Exactly. And the best way is by your example, by your actions that talk 10 times more than your mouth, right? And that's what I found out, that you have to show that love. And I'm going to end this podcast with this reminder. Everything that we do to others, we do them unto God.
Yeah.
Good or bad. So if you are about to do something that is not so good for somebody, just remember that you're doing that to the one that created you. And then you're probably going to have a second thought about what you're about to do.
We need all the curbs we can get, don't we?
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. John, thank you so much for being in the podcast. Once more, if people would like to find more about you, where can they find you online?
They can certainly find me online on LinkedIn. Just look for John Rathje, Kent State University, and that'll come up pretty quickly and easily. But otherwise, by all means, personal email, if you'd like, is my first name dot last name at live. So be happy to hear and listen to anybody who would like to share their thoughts as well.
Wonderful. John, thank you so much. Have a blessed rest of the week and keep changing this world for a better place.
Cheers to you as well, David. Blessings.